Ever wonder which type of troop give the most merits when you're grinding in Call of Dragons, mages or infantry? I run a test, tracked the fights, and after dozens of battles I'm going to show you reports of these battles. I finally have an answer that may actually surprise you. Let's start with the real dilemma that basically is kicking this off. And this is a question. I start questioning which one are better, going for infantry or mages. On one side, mages are more easy to be killed, since not great HP, also they are stuck together in the bow. So AoE mages from my side, basically my mages, do great work there. On the other side, infantry are more like safe picks since they don't have 100% counter attack like all range units. And the issue there is mages can't do AoE damage over the infantry. Since now people start learning, by the way, people start learning, especially on the battlefield when there is a fight, people separate the infantry. You're going to see rare cases. Even right now I am in one of the biggest fights in Call of Dragons. I start see that the infantry is splitted. And here is one example of this. Right now my alliance is fighting. You're going to see that there is like 3 infantry that are stuck together, and this is a single person here that is controlling this infantry. And on our side we have 2 stuck together infantry, but more and more I start see people are not going out with 4 or 5 infantry legions. They go with 1 just for the blink infantry. They're basically blinking behind the mages and marksmen, and the DPS on the other side is, yeah. Currently this is my alliance, but this is just a great example where the infantry right now they're stuck together, but there is a reason they're stuck together. This is a single person, this is other person with 3 infantry, and there is other person with 3 infantry. And the point here is I don't see that many people with 3 infantry and 3 infantry. It's just a single one, and this is one of the new decisions I think the alliances actually make. And this is every single person should have at least 1 infantry legion. So having 1 infantry legion, you're going to move around the map or in the fight, and you're not going to stick it with the rest of the infantry. And this is making the AoE damage way more harder, and catching mages also become way more harder. With so many blink infantry, you're going to just notice that they're trying to catch you with this blink infantry, and you have also infantry in the front, and mages is way more behind. That's why people are saying infantry are winning the wars. It's just infantry pressure so much the range legions if they're played well. So of course the question comes, in situation like this, catching a mages is hard. Infantry in the same time is not taking that much damage to start with because this is a tank unit, and in the same time you have to be extremely careful there. So let's talk about fighting traits. Well, even that infantry have less counter attack, many infantry remember it's like 20% extra counter attack, stuff like this. Can we show you some of the heroes here? For example, Goresh is having 20% counter attack. If you match Goresh with Skogul, obviously the counter attack is going to rise. This is one of the things of the Skogul. If I find Skogul somewhere, yeah, she's even having this spell, Legion do diffused counter attack damage, awaken at 10% more counter attack. Let's say you don't want to run with Skogul, you still can actually pick Madeline. Madeline is having this spell which is giving up to 15% counter attack damage bonus. So you see how the infantry slowly actually boost the counter attack. And on the other side you have Ironclad, which when it's attacked by range legion, is going to have 50% chance per hit to give you 5% reducing of the range damage, and can go up to 40%. So you see how they reduce a lot damage, and they do like counter attack like a mage, like range legion, like up to 80 or maybe 90% counterattack, which make the work of the mages extremely hard from point of merits. As a mage main, this video is for mage mains. What is going to be better to go for the marks for the mages or for the infantry? And this is very slow grind to get merits from infantry. Plus they have pets like Brune Bear or Venom Lizard that will do extra damage to you. And yeah, there is something else. For example, this artifact, Storm Arrow, when they blink at you, they're going to get up to 24% more damage bonus, which is, you know, is going to reflect over the counterattack they're doing. And they are the middle of the range legion. So the things with the infantry become very, very hard. In the same time, mages are hard to catch. And maybe you're going to get some good reports against lances that are not using infantry. But if you face a lance that have awakened infantry heroes inside, the things is going to be way more hard for you. And I have to point that the mages have none of extra defense and offense stats, but they have one range, which make things hard even for you and for enemy mages. We're basically in the same situation with both mages and marksmen. Marksmen was one idea better before one range warfare. Now this may actually sound funny, but this reduction of 20% of the base stats is crazy. So marksmen are doing less damage, and I hear some of the marksman mains in my alliance actually speaking about removing one range warfare because the battlefield is full with infantry. It's basically full with infantry. Look how many infantry there are here. Okay, this is builders. On our side, we have like 2 infantry right now. More people should actually bring some infantry. And after wonk thinking, I end up with the mages. The main reason is AoE damage that you will get from attacking the mages, and it's just more merits. And I'm going to share with you reports. I'm going to share with you reports that I currently send to my my farm. Now this legions is for the gate when I make the staff play, so it's not going to be the crazy reports, because at the end of the day, when you do staff play, you're trading your troops to slow down the enemy. There is no great trades when you do some staff play. But I'm going to share with you some normal reports. For example, this is Lilia Velin, which is also not great. I think this is also from the jumping. It's actually not from the jumping, but yeah, this is Lilia with Velin. And I'm going to skip the was. I obviously I get catched here, but look at against Margaret Zeta is like close to 1k. Against Goresh Skogo, look how the trades go here. 26k, 24. Obviously this Goresh Skogo was in my range. Most likely it's a blink infantry. Going further, Skogo Goresh again. This is a Hosk with Skogo again. Look the trades against infantry. This is cavalry. Now for me, cavalry have special place in my heart because they're giving so much merits. And here we get some good trades against some merits. Here we get catched by some infantry. Look at the infantry. This is even Madeline Hosk. And maybe some places where we get some good trades is against, you know, this is against archers. This is against infantry. I fight so many infantry. Everything here, you see the face of the Goresh. Everything here is Goresh. But yeah, just wanted to point out about the fighting. Now, Bertrand Tocher is actually doing pretty nice against infantry, I'm not gonna lie. He's getting some good results because they're single target, and you saw Lilia Velin is just the AoE don't apply that well for the infantry. So if I have opportunity to actually attack either mages or infantry, I'm definitely going to grab the opportunity to actually attack mages or marksmen. I even prefer to attack marksmen, even though that they have the biggest damage in this game, plus they're having 100% counterattack. It's just infantry. It start getting more and more hard, in my opinion, to actually get catch it. And the damage you're doing, especially when they blink to you, if they blink to you, things are getting wild. Things are getting wild when they do the blink play. And I see more and more people actually doing that. Oh my god. Doing that that thing with the blinking. I think it's a new trend, something like a staff play, something like this. But yeah, if I have to pick with couple words, the best merits I get is fighting against ranged legions, just because they're stuck together. The infantry is too spread on the battlefield and it's hard to catch like two infantry. Even this, if you see this and this infantry, they look close to each other, but most likely you're not going to do the splash damage, or maybe you will, I'm not so sure. So yeah, just wanted to cover this topic because, you know, from the reports I start thinking, because when you're in the battlefield you have a chance to ignore the infantry, even though that's not that good idea, and maybe leave infantry somebody else or marksmen to kill the infantry. And I start thinking maybe it's not that good idea to actually go for the infantry, and I think it's better to go for marksmen and mages. Just way better reports from point of merits. So yeah, I guess this will for this video, guys. I just share my opinion. Let me know your personal opinion when you go out and you're on the battlefield, which type of troop you're focusing the first. And I have to mention something, that the better geared troop are taking less damage. I mean, you're going to make less merits from more strong troop, something that I noticed, but I have video coming for this, so don't forget to subscribe. Also like the video if you like the video. Become a member if you want to support my personal work and my personal channel. And I wish you a great day and see you in the next video.